How is everyone doing? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and welcome to the 3 talking points after our 3-0 win against Brighton this week. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Hazard 2.0 and how these tweaks in the system against Brighton really got the best out of Eden Hazard. I'm going to be talking about Ruben and Sarri and whether Sarri has been right with his development of Ruben. And to end things, I'm going to be talking about why wing play is so important and why we saw the best of our wing play against Brighton. But if you guys like this video, smash that like button, help me get more than 500 likes for today's video, and don't forget to press the bell notification button either to stay tuned to all things Blue Lions TV. Starting with the first talking point, that's in regards to the main man, Eden Hazard. And honestly, that game that I saw from Hazard against Brighton was exceptional. I've been saying that we saw a different Hazard. We saw how Hazard played, and in my opinion, I've been wanting him to play in this particular way for years and years now, because that's the only way he can really elevate his performance and really improve as a player. Now, what am I talking about in particular? That's Hazard's off the ball movement, and I've been saying for years now that Hazard is exceptional off the ball, and we as a team and with our selection lineups don't have the personnel that normally find him when he's creating the space or moving into those areas. But when he played with Emerson and Ruben beside him, this really gave Hazard the confidence to really play with a free role. And it's a bit similar to how Insigne plays at Napoli when Sarri was there last year. You know, Insigne was kind of like a playmaker slash inside forward, similar to Hazard, where they had a lot of creative license. But for them to really play with that freedom, where they're able to operate in the half spaces, play between the lines, look for pockets of space to exploit, you need to have the responsibility to cover him. What do I mean by that? You need to have a fullback that isn't going to lose the ball, does have pace, can get in behind, and you want your number 8 to be the guy that's going to make things happen from the left hand side if Hazard isn't down the left hand side. I've always known this. I've always known that this could happen, and this was always going to be a possibility if we got the right team selection and lineup, which we did have against Brighton. But you might be asking yourself, Nini, why don't we see this from Eden Hazard enough? And there's reasons for that. Number one, if you have Marcos Alonso down the left hand side, someone that has very poor combination play with Hazard, someone that doesn't have the pace to get in behind, someone that doesn't really look to stretch the play as often as Emerson does as well, that's not going to help Hazard. And all that does is it forces Hazard to have to move himself out wide to the left. And to be honest, that's the last place I want to see Hazard consistently being in. I want this guy to play closer to goal, because when he does, he makes things happen. And of course, the other reason why we haven't seen this consistently is due to who's been playing as our number 8s. Now, you know, Cover and Ross have their own qualities, but they don't suit the tactical needs of this team playing as number 8s. You know, their movement in behind isn't aggressive enough. They don't really affect the goal with enough quality. How many times we see Cover and Ross peppering shots on goal without really testing the goalkeeper, let alone scoring any goals. And instead, you would kind of see Alonso and our number 8 kind of just stationed down the left hand side. And it's like, how can Eden Hazard really do his thing when he doesn't have the right personnel supporting him? And this is why that game against Brighton was such a joy for me, because everything I've theorized and thought about came to life, came to fruition. And as I start at this point in the video today, I've always felt for Hazard to really elevate and really become an even better player, he's going to need to have a better supporting cast around him, because Hazard for too long now has been doing the jobs of too many players. It doesn't need to be the case anymore. Now we have Emerson and Ruben playing alongside him. Let's hope that this is going to be a continuous thing, because if it is, we're really going to be a different team until the end of the season. Moving on to the second point, and that's going to be in regards to Ruben and Sarri's handling of the player this season. Now, is there an argument that Sarri should get an apology? Maybe. I kept stressing the context in regards to why Ruben hasn't been playing, and I'm going to repeat them again, and hopefully for the final time. Number one, the first reason is the fact that when's the guy really played consistently in midfield? It hasn't happened. Under Mourinho was forcing him to play as a cam most times. Under Conte was talking about using him up front. And I remember the fan base really getting behind the idea of Ruben being a forward, which made no sense whatsoever. And of course, after his spell with Crystal Palace, where he was playing as a wide midfield player on the left and on the right, it made a lot of sense why Sarri held reservations about Ruben's tactical nous, because Ruben hasn't been able to play in that position. Sarri's the first guy to not use Ruben in a very patronising sense, in my opinion. He's told him, you know what, if you want to play in your role, because Ruben has confirmed that he's spoken to Sarri saying that the number 8 position is his best role, and it's quite evident and clear that Sarri gave him a challenge, and Ruben's passed it. The fact that Sarri's been in so much praise of Ruben recently really tells you everything about his development under Sarri, and it tells you about the degree of excellency which I feel Sarri should demand. I mean, let's be serious. If you're a coach, you're going to expect your players to be able to do what they need to do. And why should you force them in the lineup if they're not exactly ready just yet? And of course, the second reason is the guy's been injured. Sarri learnt his lesson already, where he rushed back Ruben way too soon and then he sustained another injury. His back is very delicate. I keep saying all the time that he has his own specialist training regimes to help him deal with his back. And of course, when you have these factors in place, it's going to make it difficult for Ruben to play as much this season. Now, that doesn't mean that Sarri has never believed in the player, of course not. And I personally feel that too many fans took things the wrong way. And I have to admit too, there have been times where I've fallen for that same trap myself, because, you know, sometimes we don't always get the answers we want. And without those answers, of course, all you can do is speculate. And for me, this is why I don't agree with reactionary takes, because you don't take into consideration all the facts and details and nuance, which is important to build your case and support your argument. And as I keep stressing, I like that Sarri isn't using Ruben in a patronising manner. We've seen previous managers, and yes, I'm going to compare them because that's what we need to do. I've seen previous managers, you know, talk about him as if he's like some 15-year-old boy. You know, they talk about his potential and his future. We've heard reports that he's been one of the best performing players in training, still not getting any opportunities on top of that as well. After a while, you can see why Ruben was getting a bit disillusioned with this spell here. And it wasn't until this spell at Crystal Palace and Sarri being in charge as well, that's really made Ruben step up. And we're seeing that, yes, this guy does have world-class potential. For me, credit to Sarri for pushing Ruben, and credit to Ruben as well for rising to it and showing that, yes, I am the undisputed #1 player for this position. And hopefully, if he's just fully fit, we can expect to see Ruben playing a lot more. And to end things with the final talking point, that's going to be in regards to the importance of wide play and wing play. Now, the major reason why we were able to dismantle Brighton so easily was solely due down to how we were playing out wide. It's the most important thing. I mean, come on, we all know this. I don't even have to explain it in too much detail. Against very deep, defensively compact teams, you need to stretch their defensive line. These teams don't want to move. That's their whole game plan. They want to park the bus in the middle. They want to stay in shape. They want you to play in front of them. But the only way to get through that is if you're stretching them out wide, stretching their defensive line, making late man runs in behind as well to stretch them even more. And when you create that space between the lines and in the half spaces, that's when a team like ours begins to have that joy and can finally do their thing. And this is why we've been shouting out for key personnel to play in this team, because the only way we were going to do anything was if the right players were playing. It's impossible for Alonso to do what Emerson did against Brighton. He's not that type of player. Pedro and Willian, they move in field way too much at times. I don't blame them. I mean, as Sarri himself has stated, most of our players, their best position is playing on the left wing. That's Willian, Hudson, Odoi and Hazard. But with Hudson Odoi being someone that stretches the play by, you know, being his man, putting in crosses, of course, not only does that help Aspie, but that also helps our forward as well. And it also helps us stretch teams and keep that width, which we've been sorely lacking so many times throughout the season. And when you have fullbacks stretching the play, when you've got wingers that can beat their man and create even more space, and when you have midfielders in Kante and Ruben that can make those late man runs in the box, you're only going to find yourself in a very favourable position. And obviously you're going to be able to break teams down and play through them. And time again, as the game was going on, Brighton just weren't able to cope with us. Come on, this was one of the most saleable performances this season. One of the best ones, in my opinion. It was the fluidity in which we were playing. Look at the combination plays. Players understood where they needed to be, what they needed to do. And that comes down to the personnel playing. It's always come down to that. Yeah, it's been frustrating waiting for these guys to be ready tactically for Sarri to use them more. But by doing that, that's only made them better players And of course, that's what you want to see a manager doing. You want a manager to develop the youth players we have. And now these guys are even more complete for this. And the beautiful thing is playing this way. Once you get the first goal, the game is in your hands. And as Sarri did as the game was going on, he brought on the covers, he brought on the Williams. The type of players that I think are better sealing out a game compared to starting in them. Hopefully Sarri's going to see the light to this. But you guys, that's going to bring it in for today's 3 talking points video. Of course, when I do these videos, I can't always find 5 talking points all the time because I don't like repeating the same things time and time again. But of course, I'm still very excited. After that 3-0 win, I've watched the game again as well. On top of that, even better, watching it the second time as well. And you're just hoping now on Monday, we're going to see a continuation of this lineup. Hopefully I don't have anything negative to say on Monday. But you guys, that's going to be it then for today's video. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. See you guys later.